so we do have a lot of cases where we have to dismiss the case because the victim is unable to go forward. And it's unfortunate. Some people across the country feel that prosecutors should go forward with those cases anyway. We feel that it's not always in the best interest of the victim, and it can be very dangerous for a victim to go forward in a case because they really know what's best for themselves when they're assessing their safety. And we look to them for that, and we work with them in trying to help them with safety planning and safety planning for their children. We are very fortunate in this county because we have started to have domestic violence high-risk teams in the county. We now have 4 high-risk teams in Essex County. And the first one started in Newburyport. The Jeannie Geiger Crisis Center started a high-risk team in the aftermath of a particularly horrible homicide case, not that any of them were good, obviously all of them were. But this one was a case where the advocates who worked in this crisis center had a lot of information about this victim. And when they received news that someone died in their community, it happened in Amesbury, they knew right away who the victim was. They said, in store at the Junta Cottage. And they knew because they had worked with her, and they knew all of the markers. They knew her history. They'd worked with her for years. And because of the escalation of what was happening in her life, they knew that that had happened. And there was a lot of finger pointing at the time, because the judge had the defendant in his courtroom shortly before this happened, and the prosecution asked for bail, but the defendant was released. And there was a lot of information that all of the individual players had, but the information was not shared amongst the partners. And so they started a high-risk team in Newburyport, and they engaged the community to come together. The community of law enforcement, police officers, all of the police departments in that area, the probation department, the prosecutors, a number of other people in their community to come together so that they would share information so that they could try to prevent another domestic homicide from happening. Because how horrible to have information that could have been useful to the court system and not share that information. So we have started the high-risk teams. We have one here in Lynn. I know that Rich sits on that team, and I know that Peg Tiberio has also been on that team. She's also attended our Salem high-risk team. And we bring together people from many disciplines to share information so that the police departments, the probation department, the district attorney's office, advocates, DCF sits on some of the teams. People are sharing the information so that we know what's happening in various parts of this victim's life and in the perpetrator's life. And so that we are having a dialogue. We're putting together a safety plan. Maybe it means that the police are going to go out and monitor the neighborhood more, watch for the car, give the police the license plate number, give them a picture of the perpetrator. The probation department is essential to the team because if the person is on probation and there's a violation of probation, we want to make sure that the probation department is bringing the perpetrator back in, and that we're holding the perpetrator accountable. You know, we hope for rehabilitation in these cases. And I think that Omar is so right that we have to really get to the families early. We really need to teach people what a healthy relationship is, what a healthy parent-child relationship is. Because by the time we get them in the court system, the abuse is so entrenched, and it's really difficult to see rehabilitation. It is possible, and a lot of offenders are ordered into Veterans Intervention Program. And the Veterans Intervention Program, they definitely see some successes, and we're really, they're a partner on the high-risk team as well. And we definitely see some successes in that area, but it's really interesting because a lot of people think, well, is it the alcohol abuse? Is it the drug abuse? Is it, just the mental health issues? And it's very interesting because how many times do you hear about a domestic homicide and the neighbors are the first ones out there saying, gee, he was a great guy. He was really very nice. He helped to mow our lawn.
One of my neighbors, he left the office yesterday because of the domestic violence last night. She was beating her girlfriend up. He hit her with a can in her face, and he went out and got stabbed 3 times. He's nearly an 8-year fight for his life because he ran outside to protect her. And I witnessed the stabbing last night.
That's awful.
So there is people that are running out there and helping these people.
And there definitely, are. Obviously, that resulted in an awful ending. But, we try to make a difference by providing these sort of resources. But Doug Gaudette, who works in the Veterans Intervention Program through Holy Family Hospital, he very eloquently says when he works with batters, his staff and he are not afraid. They have groups at night. Groups of batters come in. They're never afraid to deal with these people. They're never hostile to them. They're not violent with them, but they're violent within their homes. And so they may seem like great people, great guys, but it's hard for us to really know what's going on. So I think that, as a community, we really need to come together. Obviously, the high-risk teams have made a huge difference for us. Peg just mentioned that this morning, that the high-risk teams have just been a wonderful resource for us because we are really looking at those cases that we feel are potentially the most lethal. We're really trying to prevent serious injury, as in this case. We're really trying to prevent homicides from occurring. And so the high-risk teams have been absolutely invaluable. When we look at the high-risk teams, the questions that we really ask and that we look at are, has your partner threatened you or your children? Do you believe the threats? Believing the threats is very important. Does your partner own or have access to a gun? Has your partner strangled or choked you? Is your partner constantly and violently jealous? Has the violence increased in frequency and severity? Does your partner control your daily activities? Does your partner follow or spy on you? Does your partner abuse alcohol or drugs? Has your partner threatened or attempted suicide? Have you separated from living with your partner? The more factors that exist in a relationship, the more of these factors that exist, the more concerning it is for us when we look at a case like this. And we will accept a case into our high-risk team that has many of these factors. And it is surprising how many cases there are that we screen in. So I'm really proud of the work that we're doing, but I know that we have so much more work to do. And getting into the schools, teaching kids about healthy dating relationships is essential, because if we don't help the kids understand what a healthy relationship is and what healthy parenting looks like, we're just going to perpetuate the cycle of violence. I remember a case that we prosecuted several years ago. It was out of Newburyport, and a man had kept his family pretty much locked up in their home and did not let them leave the home. And it wasn't until the children revealed what was going on to members of the church. They snuck out one day. They actually fled the house and went to the church and revealed what was happening in the home. And it was so shocking to the community to see this family because the children didn't know the basics. They weren't going to school. The children didn't even know the basics of how to cross the street, how to speak to people. They were so isolated from the community and from society as a whole. And that's certainly an extreme case, but those cases do exist. This week is National Victim Rights Week, and as I mentioned, there was an event at the State House yesterday. And the national theme for this year is reshaping the future and honoring the past. And there was a lot of talk about that in the conference yesterday. And as an advocate, I really looked at that title and it doesn't really sit well with me because I think that there's a lot of reshaping of the future that we need to continue to do. And I'm not so sure that we're always proud about what's happened in the past. Victims were not always included in what happened with cases in the past. And so we've come a long way where we're providing services and we're partnering with each other, but we have such a long way to go. And community meetings like this are so essential to beginning to work together. And so again, I want to applaud Pam for putting this together and making this happen. Thank you so much.